able to join. And we have a few individuals with us that are avid teachers. My name's Lori Sherlock, and I teach at West Virginia University. I've been involved with the Arthritis Foundation for a very long time and actually helped write the book. So if you have questions about any of the programming, I just urge you to reach out. I think that it's amazing that we have such a strong Arthritis Foundation presence and arthritis exercise presence in the state of West Virginia. And we have a very strong contingency trying to build that even further. So with the Arthritis Foundation programming and with exercise in general, I think sometimes we don't talk about the importance of socialization nearly enough. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit today. We do highlight it in the Arthritis Foundation manual and within the training, but we were chatting before we got on officially starting the meeting, and I was chatting with Karen, and she was telling me how they just have a good time when they get in the pool. And really, that's what it comes down to. When people are having fun at what they do, they're going to keep coming back. And a big part of that is socialization. So when we think about the purpose of it and what it does for exercise, is it ultimately removes a lot of the barriers that people see that exercise presents to them. Most of the time when people envision exercise, they think of a solitary type of adventure, right? Where they're doing something all by themselves. Adam's in his basement riding his stationary bicycle, right? So we're doing things oftentimes by ourselves. And in reality, if we bring that social aspect into our exercise programming, we're removing that barrier of isolation. And for many of the folks that we work with that have arthritis, isolation is a concern. So we need to think of as instructors how to build that social aspect of our class, maybe even further than we already do. Now, something special about the water, and you all probably have experienced this as well, is that the water has a tendency to make people more comfortable. Once they get in, they get a little loose as far as language goes. They have a feeling they want to get conversational. People start talking. And there's actually some really interesting literature out there that supports that. Speech pathologists are using the aquatic environment. They bring people into the water to help them foster language, whether that is an individual that has some neurodiversity, autistic, or if that's an individual that needs to relearn speech patterns, such as an individual that's had a stroke. So across that spectrum, you see this really interesting use of the aquatic environment. We see it just because people get extra chatty when they get in the water. And that's something that we can use to our advantage. Some instructors, I think, kind of cringe, like, oh my gosh, my class is talking so much and they're not paying nearly enough attention to what we're doing in the water. But this is one of the things that they need. They need that social aspect, and we want to foster that. So when we think about taking that, removing barriers, being social helps us increase motivation, it helps us increase accountability, and it helps us increase emotional well-being. So these three things are happening without even applying exercise principles. So keeping that in mind, we want to think about how can we further engage this? How can we foster this a little bit more? And I wrote down a few ideas. So the first one is introductions. I think one of the things that we can do as instructors is we provide people an opportunity to get to know one another. We oftentimes will have outgoing individuals that'll come into our class and they don't need introductions to be formal. They help themselves to introducing themselves to the rest of the class, and that's wonderful and grand. But sometimes we have those shyer folks that need a little bit of help getting to know one another and getting to know the group. So the objective of our intros are to help to get to know one another, establish a sense of community within our group. And I love that word community. When we have a community, gives us opportunity to lean on one another. That gives us opportunity to learn from one another. That gives us opportunity to feel like we have relationships with people in our class. So community is kind of a goal. It also helps us identify common ground. Okay, so sometimes when an individual has a chronic illness, disability, disease, condition, it can feel very isolating. And it feels like, how could anybody understand what I'm going through? But then when you talk to somebody who has a similar condition, it can feel very empowering. It can feel uplifting. You feel like you're not alone. So again, it helps build that common ground or that sense of community. And it can set the tone for the class. So letting people know that we welcome socialization, that we welcome getting to know each other, that we welcome this idea of building relationships and community within our classes. So that dynamic that we're looking for, that we're searching for, we as instructors kind of help foster that. We help grow that. And I have some examples that I like to use in my classes. My first one is my favorite. I love Two Truths and a Lie. This is one of my favorite games, and I play it with my college students. I play it with my college faculty. I play it with my groups of fitness people. So the concept of two truths and a lie is that I'm going to share three statements about myself, and one of those is a lie, and two of them are true. Okay, so two truths, one lie, and then the group gets to guess which one is the lie. So it's a really simple game. And sometimes it takes a moment to think of things, particularly if you want to get extra creative. So an example might be one that I use with my students is that I have climbed Mount Rainier. B, I have competed in world championships. Or C, I have ridden over 1,000 miles on my bicycle. Okay,
Do
so
we get to guess?
yeah, you can guess. Guess away.
I don't want to go first.
Is
But
it is it Mount Rainier?
It is Mount
I'm going with
Rainier.
A, yeah.
Yeah, it is Mount Rainier. I've
Okay.
ridden well over 1,000 miles on my bike, and I've competed in over 10 world championships.
You-
So fun little way to get to know a little bit about somebody. And you can make it as in-depth as you want, or as scratching the surface as you want. Okay. Does anybody else want to give it a try? Give us your two truths and a lie.
I can try.
Okay.
I always have a hard time coming up with one of them. So let me think. Um, ooh, let's see. I have broken 6 bones. I have um gone parachuting, and I have gone whitewater rafting.
Hmm. Karen, what do you think?
Parachuting.
Nope.
Oh,
It's the 6 bones. Well, I've broken bones 11 times.
oh,
Yes, I'm a
That's
very
a
breaky
lot.
person.
That's a lot.
Yeah, almost double.
So you can see how easily this starts conversation, right? So of course, we want to dig into Lakin's past, right? Like, how did this
right.
happen? What's going on? Why are you frail? Okay. So we want to know more. So two truths and a lie. This is an easy one. And you can give people, like, during the warm up, maybe we start with this. I want you to start thinking about two truths and a lie you can share with the group and give them your example. So come in prepared. And then they have a few minutes to craft their two truths and a lie. And then off you go. Right. The next one that I have on here is a one-word introduction. So what you ask the participants to do, your class participants, is you say, I'm going to have you say your name, and then I'm going to have you give me one word, and this can relate to anything. How you feel about being in the class today, how you're feeling today, your personality, one word that relates to your personality, one word to describe you. So it can be anything. So let's use a one-word introduction to describe your personality. Okay, I'm going to say effervescent.
That's a big word.
It is, but I think I'm very bubbly.
It's a great choice.
Thanks.
I would say I'm chatty.
Chatty's good. Karen?
I would say that I am excited.
Oh, I love that. Good. Adam, you want to voice in?
Oh, let's see. I would say, well, lately pensive. How about that?
Okay, well, that's honest.
Thank you.
Okay, so you can take those one word introductions and you can make it, again, people have a choice of how in depth they want to get with it. They can scratch the surface or they can take it a little deeper. Maybe they have something they'd like to talk about, and this is a nice platform for them to start a discussion, right? So maybe I'm feeling stressed. Okay. And then we can talk about that. Why are we feeling stressed? Or I'm feeling like I'm in pain, right? So maybe again, that's a jumping off point. Let's talk about it a little bit. The last one is rosebud and thorn. Okay, so this is again, I think we can use this in a lot of different ways, either as like a reflective tool for an introduction or an intro to like, hey, this is a little bit about my life. So the rose is something positive, a success, or something you're grateful for. So you list your rose. Your bud is something that you're looking forward to, something new, or something that's developing, an idea that you have. Okay, so that's your bud. And then the thorn is a challenge, a worry, or a struggle that you might have. Okay, and this is again, people are able to make the choice of how deep they want to go here. So a rose, for me, I get 15 new students. That's exciting for me. Okay, so that's my rose. That's something positive. My bud is something I'm looking forward to. I'm going to Croatia in November. Okay, so that's something that I'm looking forward to. And my thorn is that I have 15 new students. All right, so when we look at things about rosebud and thorn, does anyone want to give that one a try? That requires maybe a little bit more thought.
Yeah, I could go.
Okay.
So let's see. Rose, something positive. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My family owns a store and we just opened up our second location in Pittsburgh. So that was
Exciting.
today. Yay!
Congratulations.
It's very big stuff. And then Bud, something I'm looking forward to. My wedding is next weekend. So that's very fun and exciting. And
Amazing.
Thorn, stressed about the wedding being next weekend.
Yeah. Karen, do you want to give it a try?
I will.
Okay.
My rose is to have 20 students in class.
Wow.
My bud is to help develop more teachers to come in and do the instructions there at the Y.
That's wonderful.
And my thorn is when I have 26 students
Whew.
because we run out of space.
Yes.
Yep.
There's only so much room in a pool.
Right. And our pool, honestly, 26 makes it almost impossible to do the back whenever you want to turn around and walk backwards or whatever.
Yes.
Mhm.
But we
Anytime you're moving about the cabin.
right.
Absolutely. So these intros, these are just simple examples, and I will send a handout with all of these on there if you're wanting to use them in your class and you're like, hey, we did this and I can't remember it. So I'll send that your way after we do this today. The second one is discussions. Okay, so intros are kind of scratching the surface, little tidbits. Maybe we do this in between exercises. Maybe we do this while we're doing one round of exercises, so they can go pretty quick. Particularly if you have a large group, intros can be great. They're quick and they're necessary. We want people to get to know each other. Discussions are a bit deeper. Okay, so this is an information exchange. We maybe do some problem solving. We deepen our learning. We foster perspective. We engage a little bit more, and maybe we have an opportunity for self-expression. I jokingly call one of my classes my brain trust because when I have a question, somebody in there is going to know the answer. Right? When I have all of these smart minds, and I mean, I'll have upwards of 30 people in a class where if I have a question, I will commonly take it to them and we will have a discussion about it. So some examples that I have, if your class isn't immediately chatty, then here's some examples to maybe start the discussion. So the first one, I love questions like this. What is your superpower? All right. So you can do this in a couple different ways, but this one is intended on everybody's going to share something they're very good at. And this does a couple things. First of all, it gives you a snapshot of what your class is doing, what they look like, how they identify, and what they feel good about themselves for, right? So it gives us that. The other thing is they're saying something positive about themselves, which usually has a really positive impact that helps them reflect positively on themselves. Okay, so it lets people shine a little brighter in your class, and I think that's always a good thing to empower people to do. Okay, so something they're either good at, that they find unique about themselves, a particular skill that they've got, an adaptation that they've developed, maybe relative to arthritis, or maybe relative to a disability that they have, or even something serious, or it could be something really funny, right? So, depending on what that is, your superpower. Okay. And as an instructor, I think one of my superpowers is building community. This is something I feel like I do pretty well. And whether that's in my academic classes or in my fitness classes, um, this is something that I love to do. And I truly believe that it stems from this type of activity where we're drawing in this social aspect. Anybody else want to tell us their superpower?
Oh, I have a great superpower.
Ooh, tell us.
It's my big mouth. They can hear me when they can hear nobody else.
That is a gift for an instructor, Karen.
Oh,
Beautiful. So the next one that I have is if you knew then what you know now. So I like this one too. This is again just a little creative thought that if each person shares a piece of advice that they would give to their younger self. Okay. So if you knew now what, or sorry, if you knew then what you knew now. So what piece of advice would you give to your younger self? Does have anybody have an example?
I would definitely give myself the advice of stop taking everything so seriously.
Ha,
It's
that's
not
a
it's
good
not
one.
that stressful. It'll be okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
retire sooner.
I love that advice. I'm going to take that advice.
Good.
I think my advice to myself would be don't be afraid to take the blame. Yeah, there's power in saying, yep, I'm wrong. That was my fault.
Yeah,
And I think you get scared of that at a young age.
you do.
So the last one I have on here is a bright spot. So this would be a great, I think, a great closing activity where you go around the group and you ask each person to share one bright spot, small victory, something that they experienced recently, no matter how minor it seems. And it could be about achieving a personal goal. It could be about something that they saw, experienced, were present for. Maybe it would be being able to do something independently that they haven't done in a while. Could be related to your class or it could not be related to your class. Okay, so today, this morning, I was looking at the sky and just thinking, my goodness, how beautiful the sky was this morning. I don't know if you guys caught it. It might have looked different down in Huntington, but we had the most glorious blue sky with these beautiful little puffs of clouds. And I thought, feel good about that. That was my bright spot today. How about you guys? Did you have a bright spot today?
Well, I'll tell you all my bright spot from several months ago. And because this one I've always liked to share. I had a student and she is an older lady like me and she has very, very stiff shoulders. And she had told me she could not even reach up to wash her hair. And so we worked on, especially on shoulder motion and reaching up. And we even started playing some what we call volleyball in the water. And after a while, she came up to me and she said, "Look, I can wash my own hair." And she reached to the top of her head. And to me, that was the brightest spot in the world to
That's what
see
keeps
her
coming
do
back
that.
as an instructor, doesn't it?
Yes, yes. So, I mean, we all have those.
That's a great one, Karen. Really great.
Well, I would say my bright spot today, similar to yours, Lori, is I walk Austin out every morning when he leaves, and it was such a nice, cool breeze today. I was like, wow, this is so refreshing. This is so nice compared to like we just had a thunderstorm and then it was muggy and hot before that. So it was a very nice change of pace for a
Yeah.
Monday morning.
Spectacular Monday morning.
Hmm.
Yeah, for a Monday morning, right?
Yep.
So the last section that I have is activities. So this is participation oriented, right? We try to either connect, maybe we enhance trust, maybe we build morale, or maybe we develop skills, or we discover shared interests, provide a sense of accomplishment. We have a lot of activities kind of ingrained into the Arthritis Foundation programming, whether that's game associated or whether that's kind of balance activities. All of those would relate beautifully to this category. And I listed a couple that we all are very familiar with. Simon Says, right? And usually I say it instead of Simon Says, I said, call it Lori Says. Lori Says, right? So we do a game where they just do what we say. And if they mess up, then they're out of contention for the prize. Who knows what the prize is, right? And the next one I have is follow the leader. This can be done in a lot of different fun ways. The first is instructor led. So I might choose to have them follow exactly what I'm doing, or I might choose to have them mirror a participant. This is another really nice way to build relationships. So I have one person facing the other person. This person is going to follow the other person's activities, and they're going to mirror them and follow the leader. Um, the last one that I have on here is a group story with gestures. And I've done this a few different ways. One is actually doing a story where you've probably all done the one sentence stories where I start saying a sentence and then the next person says, adds on to the story, and the next person adds on and adds on and adds on. Well, instead of just that, now let's add an activity with it. And it could be an exercise that is related to the Arthritis Foundation programming. Okay, so maybe I have them during my sentence, I have them do wrist circles. Okay, and then your sentence, you have them do fingertip touches. Okay, and then for Lakin's sentence, we're going to have them do leg lifts. Okay, so maybe we pair it with an activity. And that'll do two things. First, it keeps them engaged with what we're doing. Some people will love it, and some people, this is not for them. The other thing that it does is it turns into a memory game, which is really fun. That's a whole nother level of learning and activity that most of our participants are going to want to work on. Um, if you if your group wouldn't be comfortable with the story, I've got another version of this. So the other version is that you say your name and you associate yourself with an exercise. Okay. So this is, again, we can use this as kind of an intro. So my name's Lori and I like jumping jacks. All right. So that jumping jack is going to be associated with me. And then we go to Karen, and Karen says, my name's Karen and I like cross country skis. So then she says her name's Lori and she likes jumping jacks. My name's Karen and I like cross country skis. So now everybody is doing those activities. And then Lakin goes on to her. She says, my name's Lakin and I like to do toe touches, or I like to do leg swings. I like to do leg swings. Her name's Lori. Okay, jumping jack. So now we're getting the memory game. We're learning everybody's name, and we're maybe learning a favorite exercise along the way while we're still doing physical activity. So these are just great little ways to integrate a lot of fun, and inevitably people are going to forget and they're going to get the giggles, which is always a good time. All right. So let me go on to just a few more things. The resource sharing is yet another means of kind of driving the idea of community. Okay, so maybe we create a space, and this could be a figurative space. So our class could be that space, or maybe it's a physical place like a bulletin board or a wall where we can share information about local resources. We can share information about accessible venues. We can share information about support services or adaptive technologies. So again, I'm sure that you all have run into people asking you, gosh, I love to do this, but I can't do it the same way that I used to. So have you found a way that you're able to do this, or is there something that currently exists that maybe I'd be able to supplement and the activity seems similar. Okay, so this is that space. A few ways to do that in kind of an organized way, if you want to do it in an organized way, is a resource spotlight. That's your first one here. So resource spotlight is um, is where we are going to either during the warm up or a cool down, anywhere in between, right? But usually we see this in the warm up or cool down when we have a bit more relaxation with our programming. The facilitator can introduce a specific resource. Like, hey, did you know that West Virginia University offers transportation for those that need it, that aren't able to get to their classes or to their spot on campus? Okay, maybe that would be the resource. Or, hey, before we stretch, I'm going to mention the assistive technology system that's available in West Virginia. The West Virginia ATS is available to everyone, and they keep a closet of things that you can borrow if you need them. So you can try stuff out before you buy it. Okay, so these are some things that I might choose to bring up to my class that maybe they don't know about. Maybe they don't know about. And it's a great resource for them to maintain or grow their level of independence. We might have an ask and share board. Okay, and this could be like, I'm just going to throw sticky notes up on a wall during class and then I'm going to take them down after class. It could be that simple. Or maybe your space has a more permanent area that you can create a bulletin board and have people post things, questions that they have, or things that they want to share. Okay, so maybe we bring in trifolds of something like, hey, I found this. This is really cool. Or maybe we create a virtual space for that, where we have our group has a social media account. And that's where we can ask and share questions, ask and share resources. And the last one I have on here is a community partner highlight. And this one requires just a little bit more preparation on your instructor side, but we might once a month invite a representative from a physician's office or an accessibility organization, something that will help our community grow, our aquatic community, our exercise community grow in their knowledge about what is available to them. Okay, and you've seen similar aspects like, or similar programs like this, like Walk with a Doc, right? Where you'll have doctors that you can go for a walk with and ask questions while you're walking. This is a similar concept. We're just bringing them to our pool or to our Arthritis Foundation exercise program. And that way we have a resource in-house that we can ask questions about the topics that we have for that person. So a little bit of pre-communication to get that set up. We might think about rehab services. Maybe we bring in a PT, an OT, a rehab tech, a nurse that can tell us a little bit more about vitals, maybe a dietitian to talk about how anti-inflammatory diets may be assistive for people. So these are all things that would be great for our classes to learn while we're exercising, right? So that's just kind of a fun thing for resource sharing. Acknowledging progress. Gosh, Karen just shared a great one. She acknowledged her person came in and said, I can wash my hair. That's huge. That's independence. That is independence. I had a person come in after a few weeks of class and he said, I did something today that I haven't been able to do in years. I said, what's that? He said, I could put my shoes on by myself. His wife had been putting his shoes on for decades, and he was able to get the range of motion and the balance and the coordination to do that on his own. Okay, so that little bit of sharing, acknowledging progress, whether I get to share with the group or maybe somebody says, gosh, I've really noticed this person is able to exercise harder or go through a bigger range of motion. So thinking about that, I can do it. Okay. So the first one is I can do it circle. And we're going to stand in a circle and ask everyone to share one thing that they feel more confident doing today. That's simple, right? What do you feel more confident doing today? The next one is a fist bump train. I love this one. It's really simple. We're just basically going to go to somebody and we're going to bump fists, right? Like that underwater. Or you can do a high five circle if the fist bump isn't something that you're into. And have them move around the pool, offering some positive reflection. Okay. Something they feel good about, a new accomplishment, whatever it might be, just giving people a little high five. And I love it actually low five in the water so that we're using the water's resistance and we're staying submerged. And the last one I have on here is a fitness assessment with reflection. So I love doing some basic assessments in my classes. And whether that is going from sit to stand, whether that's going from sit to stand to walk, okay, let's call it a timed up and go. Whether that's doing a 6-minute walk. So something where we're able, a balance test, something that we're able to say, I want you to really pay attention to how you're doing right now, okay, with this activity. And once we've done that activity, we are going to fast forward maybe 3-4 weeks, and we're going to do that activity again and see how you perform. And usually the individual will perform better. That's a nice way to reflect on the activity. Look at how far you've come in 3 to 4 weeks within your class. Okay, so that's some cool stuff that again grows confidence and shows them that you have been making a difference by coming to this class. The last one I have on here, and I think a lot of people do this within their groups because they become so tight, are out of class activities. And this is, of course, doesn't have to be instructor driven. Commonly, when you've created such a strong community within your class, that community grows beyond the confines of your pool or your gym. And this out of class activity, you'll see deeper connections form. You see this friendship, like true deep friendship starting to come around. It helps broaden the support network. So now that I have somebody I feel like I can talk to, I can call this person, I can lean on this person, I can talk to them about the real stuff that I need to talk to, that maybe I don't have anybody else to talk to about. And it also brings the group together a bit more. So some examples, coffee or tea, right? Love this. This is really simple. You can do this pre-class, post-class, not related to class at all. Everybody just meets at a coffee or tea shop. You don't have to put this on someone. A lot of times our fitness facilities will have a little break room and they'll let us utilize that for coffee and tea. And maybe we bring a healthy snack or maybe we bring an unhealthy snack. I don't know. So a coffee or tea, that's simple. It doesn't have to be long. We can choose, as instructors, we can choose to bring in and gamify this a little bit or just let it be. A lot of times it doesn't need anything. You just need to invite people, they show up, and they have a nice time socializing. Potlucks. People love food. In fact, when left to their own devices, this is what they will talk about the entire class. So people love food. They love to share recipes. They love to talk about stuff. So why not give people an opportunity to share their food? So doing a potluck and you just provide the space and then everybody comes with a covered dish. We very commonly will do this for our Christmas, our holiday party. We'll do a potluck and people love it. Just a nice opportunity to sit down and reflect on the year before we take a little vacation. Town outing. I love this idea too. So maybe, and a lot of my folks do this on their own. They'll say, hey, do you want to meet at a farmer's market, or do you want to go out to lunch, or do you want to go to, we have a concert series in town. Do you want to go to one of the concerts? Do you want to go to the CAC? So like you'll see a lot of outings, a town outing. And as an instructor, you may foster this a little bit by calling ahead if you do have individuals that have specific physical needs and they need a little bit of additional assistance. Sometimes people don't go places because they feel like it's too hard. So as an instructor, we may choose to make that seem a little easier, right? And whether that is with getting people from point A to point B, okay, so teaching people how to become more mobile, whether that's with an ambulatory device or whether that is with, using a lift. or using a car service, or whether that's like, gosh, I don't know if I can make it through a museum. I'm not sure if I can go to this place. Do a little research, find out how accessible the place is, and if that place offers amenities that will help with increasing accessibility. So these are simple things that you can assign somebody from class to look into, right? Doesn't always have to fall on you. You can always say, hey, I need a little bit of help doing this. Um, but your classes will commonly build a higher level of common ground and build a higher level of community and relationship and socialization when we start to build in some of these activities inside and outside of our classes. So I'd love to just take a moment and you tell me if you do some other things that foster socialization within your classes, that maybe you could tell us a little bit more about.
So I definitely have one that is kind of socialization, but it was like completely unplanned. We've started doing like a parking lot meetup where after class, like we all take forever to like get cleaned up and dried off and everything. And we all end up moseying outside to our cars around the same time. And we spend an extra 15, 20 minutes just talking about what we're going to do for the rest of the day, dinner we're going to have, if we plan on meeting up in the following week, things like that. And it's become kind of like a ritual for us.
I love that.
Yeah.
Sometimes spontaneity is the best type of socialization. Karen, do you have any favorites?
Well, we have one lady in the class she just loves planning Christmas parties, and she always plans us a luncheon and get together at one of the local restaurants at Christmas time, and that seems to be a real favorite of the group. And we also have had two or three potlucks, and they're all well received. They just enjoy it. And there's 15 minutes between classes at our pool, and that 15 minutes is everybody's still standing in the water. They're still talking. They're still trying to catch up. And as one lady says, hey, this is my girl time.
Yes.
So, and that's kind of our thing, is to just stay there in the water and talk for another 15 minutes before the next class moves in.
I love that.
So,
So my favorite meetup spot in Morgantown, Lake and Ast. For my group, a lot of times Mylan Aquatics, because it is kind of a bit out from everything else. I have two spots that I like. First is actually staying in the building. They will let us use one of their party rooms. So we'll do that as a meetup spot. The other favorite meetup spot is Terra Cafe. That place is fantastic. They're easy for indoor and outdoor. Plus, there's a walking trail right there. So I usually incorporate some type of, hey, let's get out and walk a little bit before we sit down or for tea or coffee, or after we sit down for tea or coffee. So those are my two favorites. We have tried to do Beehive Cafe because that's right up there, but haven't had a lot of luck with that. But we've done quite a few spots. Yeah, Terra Cafe is probably one of my favorites outside of the ease of Milan. Well, guys, thank you so much for sitting in today, and I hope that you're going to take something home that you can use with your classes. I did record this, so I'll make sure to send it your way, as well as the handout that has everything kind of laid out and described. Is there anything that you all want to talk about or share, or experiences that you maybe think might help us learn a little bit more?
I have a question.
Absolutely.
Are you all teachers that teach from the side of the pool, or are you in the water with your students?
It's a great question. So it depends for me. I mostly teach out of the water, but there are definitely classes that I teach from in the water. Yeah,
Okay.
when I have groups that I've been with for a really long time and they know the exercise as well and they know my cues well, then I feel really confident with teaching in the pool. And sometimes that helps people get more comfortable with me.
I
Okay.
am the same way, except there's sometimes where I'll only have one person in my class, and it's usually Cecil. If you guys don't know him, he's the assistant director in our office, and I will get in the water with him and make him test out some new lessons plans that I haven't fully vetted but want some help with.
I
Okay.
love that.
Well, I always teach from in the water, first of all, unless like I've had like skin cancer surgery and stuff like that. And I'm out of the water for a couple weeks, while that heals. And, but for the most part, I'm in the water. And I just wondered if that was rare or kind of normal. So,
I often think with the Arthritis Foundation exercise programming, you see it very commonly taught from in the water.
good.
And it's because it's oftentimes because individuals, a lot of our instructors are teaching and they personally have arthritis. So land-based exercise doesn't feel good to them.
Right.
So they're in the
That's
pool because that's where they're able to teach from,
right. Okay.
right? So
Right.
I think as long as your individuals know what you're teaching, there is nothing negative about teaching from in the water, as
Okay.
long as they know what they're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Wonderful. Well, I think